the Federal Reserve, and instead of making gold coins, it creates paper money and controls how much is printed each year in the United States.
Oh, so that's why our money says Federal Reserve on it.
More like Federal Rejects! They really set themselves up for that one.
Not your best work, Gabby. The Federal Reserve has printed so much money since it was started in 1913, the dollar is now worth only 5% of what it was back then. That means that if $1 could buy you 10 beautiful lollipops in 1913, that same dollar could only buy half of one lollipop in your time.
Inflation is so cruel.
That's how the inflation monster works, and it grows every day.
This is horrifying. Why doesn't anyone do something about it?
Well, people can't see the inflation monster as clearly as you can right now, because prices creep up slowly over time.
So how bad can it get if we don't stop the inflation monster?
Let's head to Zimbabwe in 2008.
Now remember, the book of Revelation goes into the fulfillment of prophecies as well as these latter day times, these end times. So it's very fitting that when it comes to the seven seals and, the four kingdoms or the four beasts, the fourth beast, it's talking about America. It's talking about this current society, this current kingdom that we're in right now. So in Revelations chapter 6 and let's start at verse 5 when it says, "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the fourth beast, the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny." So a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny is giving you the understanding of the difference in prices and how it jumps just based off of inflation. This is going into hyperinflation right here. "And see, thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth." That's going into this current society right now. And also they lend on usury. They teach on deception. They lie. We're not supposed to be living in a society where we're paying taxes and there's a debt in the system when it comes to the overall money, the overall understanding of the currency that's owed to the Federal Reserve. They incurred that debt. We didn't incur that debt, but we the ones that gotta suffer financially. We supposed to be sovereign. We supposed to be making money off of our Social Security and our birth certificates. But yeah, man, this verse again, just want to emphasize and read it. It says, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny." So a measure of wheat for a penny as opposed to 3 measures of barley for a penny. A rise in inflation. That's what that's going into. "And see, thou hurt not the oil and the wine." The prophecies of Revelation 6:6 add depth to this current society's struggle with hyperinflation. The scales represent the imbalance of economic power, where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Capitalism. This is all based in the intentions of capitalism. Just when it comes to how these mechanisms work throughout the years. The scarcity of wheat and barley represents the lack of access to basic necessities like food, while the preservation of oil and wine represent the access of the wealthy. In our current society, hyperinflation has caused prices to rise exponentially, making it difficult for people to afford basic needs like food and housing. The wealthy, however, continue to accumulate more wealth and power, while the poor struggle to survive. The verse serves as a warning, reminding us of the importance of economic justice and the need to address the imbalance of power in our society. Exodus 22 and 25. "If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury." So usury is talking about interest. Thou shalt not lend on interest. When it comes to this system, this society that we live in with, this money system is corrupt. because everything is based off of credit and interest. We work, we spend money, and it's all a tax. You're not supposed to be living in this type of system. You're supposed to be living sovereign. But when you work, most of the money that you make, you're not even getting all of it. We got to pay taxes. That's lending on interest. We shouldn't be that's giving back off of interest, off of a promise to pay. It's all corrupt, but the thing that's important is for us to understand the prophetic aspects of this current society. So all this stuff is just something that was already written and told, that this is what we would, this is what we would go through or suffer from or be before. Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 35, where it says, "And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger, or though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. Take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy power, that thy brother may live with thee. Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals for increase." So the victuals is talking about like the things that we need, the necessities of life, water, food, so on and so forth. Just as we read in Revelation 6:6 about the barley and the wheat, just going into the basic necessities of life, and also the aspect of how we shouldn't use our brother in the sense of, giving him something and expecting it in return as well as a plus. We shouldn't expect interest, and we shouldn't expect anything in return, just in the sense of good deeds that we do, because the things that we do, and we do it in the darkness, the Most High shall reward us in light, right? So it's important for us not to pat ourselves on the back in certain instances of what we do. And that's just aside from, this scripture to a degree, just more about the aspect of how we shouldn't be using our kin. We shouldn't be using our people, especially when it comes to money and things that we need. Deuteronomy 23:19, "Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury." So it's just beyond the financial aspect, but the point is, the interest. The point is usury. When it comes to, gain monetarily or just gain in general, especially when it comes to the people that you love, thou shalt not do it. Your brother, your kin, your mother, your father, so on and so forth. And just in a broader sense, when it comes to this system, this world that we live in, we already understand that it's corrupt. So this pretty much lines up with the left-hand vibration of this society, where everything is all based in deception. They don't even tell you about this stuff in the school, so that should let you know that it's something that's corrupt. You got to read books about it, like Creature from Jekyll Island and the New Money System 666, things like that. They don't tell you about this stuff in the school because they don't want you to know that what's running this society, as far as like these countries, are international banks. Really banks that, preside over each country, where they are like, they're lending agents. It's like the Federal Reserve to the United States and other international banks. Because it all goes back to usury. It all goes back to this system where everything is, is credit. It's credit based. Ezekiel 18 verse 8, "He that hath not given forth upon usury, neither hath taken any increase, that hath withdrawn his hand from iniquity, hath executed true judgment between man and man." True judgment. Because people be like, "Oh, don't judge me, don't judge me." True judgment. We're supposed to judge. It's correction. That's how you keep a society stable, morally. Judge. But we judge in righteousness. We judge the right way, because we don't want to be hypocrites in the act of judgment. But we know that the Most High blessed us with the understanding, which gives us the entitlement to judge if, we're in our right position, in our right state of mind as being gods, because that's what it means to be a judge. It means to be a god, or vice versa. It's the same thing, just in regards to you having that power that the Heavenly Father gave you, being an extension of him, not being him in equation, but more so being an extension of him, where you judge the earth, because that's what the Most High is. And we as his people, we do the acts, we perform the acts of the Heavenly Father, and that's judgment, right? But some of us aren't in our right mind, but this is how we're supposed to be, because if we do these things, we have a chance of salvation, just in terms of abstinence from all these things that's of sin, right? So he that hath not given forth upon usury, neither hath taken any increase, that hath withdrawn his hand from iniquity, hath executed true judgment between man and man, in this society, man and man, hath walked in my statutes, and hath kept my judgments to deal truly, he is just. He shall surely live, saith the Lord power. If he beget a son that is a robber, a shredder of blood, and that doeth the like of any one of these things, and that doth not any of those duties, but even hath eaten upon the mountains, and defiled his neighbor's wife. So, verse 11 is just more so an extension, but really focused on the aspect of the usury, understanding that these things are of sin. Yes, they are. Genesis chapter 13 and verse 1, where it says, And Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abraham, or Abram, was very rich in cattle and silver and in gold. So Abraham, or Abram, at this time, he was rich in cattle. So it's not just going into the aspect of capital, it's going to the aspect of consumption, cattle, land, and the things that you have on your land when it comes to your crops. You're supposed to tend to it, your food, wheat, barley, corn, flour, so on and so forth. Abram or Abraham was rich just based off of how much he had in that. He had that in abundance. So that goes into the aspect of real wealth. It's real wealth. That's how wealthy Abraham was, or Abram at this time. So I'm in the notes, just going into things that I jot down in regards to this topic. Civil War, the National Bank. The American Civil War was fought over several issues, including slavery and states' rights. However, another significant factor was the desire for a national bank. The North, led by President Abraham Lincoln, wanted a national bank to finance his war efforts and stabilize the economy. The South, however, resisted the idea of a national bank, fearing it would give too much power to the federal government. And this is how these wars start. It's always over money. It's always over the credit-based system. Banks. Most of these wars waged over money. Not slavery. Really, it was more so money. Right? This dispute over banking policies was a significant underlying cause of the Civil War. The North ultimately prevailed, and the National Banking Acts of 1863 and 1864 established a national banking system. And we already understand several years later, in 1913, you had the Federal Reserve inception, right? You read that book, Creature from Jekyll Island, really, really details it greatly. System of corruptness, credit, just lies and deception. The outlawing of gold and silver, which substantiates money. In 1933, where gold was outlawed. In 1965, where silver was outlawed, using certain figures like the presidents. This corrupt, deceptive system ongoing up until things come to a head where all hell breaks loose soon.
Your back pocket or your purse, a tech company wants you to keep it under your skin.
All right, so let's explain here. Walletmore is selling microchips implanted in your hand as an alternate payment. Could this be the future? Maybe. Once you set up your card info in the company's app, look at this, it says payments could be as easy as swiping your hand over a card reader. Right now, chips are not sold in the U.S.
I've done videos on the mark of the beast before, but just for context, just going into it again. So in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16, it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or their foreheads." Now this book, Revelation, goes into the aspect of these modern day times, these end days. So it's revelatory, it's revealing unto you what's to come. We know that in these days, hyperinflation is crazy right now. So it's just letting you know that we're moving towards prophecy, or the fulfillment of it when it comes to the money system and the RFID chip. The RFID chip is the mark of the beast, because when you look at this word mark, remember Revelation was written in the Greek, so it goes back to the Greek word charagma, which means cutting into the flesh. That's how they're going to put it in you. They're going to cut it in your flesh. It's going to go through your skin. That's pretty much what it is, and as simple as that. And it's so easy for you to understand. If you read on more, it says, "And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark." How can we not buy or sell? Because there's going to be a crash. So they're going to try to change the form of currency to the chip. If you don't have the chip, you're not going to be able to get anything. You're not going to be able to make any transactions, because the paper money is not going to be anymore. It's going to be null and void. Right? So that's how we understand that. That's what this is in regards to the mark of the beast. The beast is a system. The beast is the overall system, which is governed by Luciferianism and the worship of pagan gods, and Osirianism and Saturnianism, and so on and so forth. Right? So, "And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." That's going into the aspect of the UPC codes as well, not just the beast in itself as far as 666, but the UPC codes that you see on items, products, is 666 on it. So this lines up with prophecy. That's what it lines up with. It lines up with prophecy. The UPC codes and whatnot, the barcodes. "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So it's very important for us to understand how these things line up. Use common sense. We know that this is talking about the RFID chip, because that's the new form of currency that's going to come after the market crashes, especially when we understand that it's near. You know, it's near, it's coming. Now you see that word right there, mark. I went over this before, but it's good to be redundant, especially for people who aren't aware. You have new people who come on the channel, so on and so forth. So right here, we're in the Blue Letter Bible, where we go into the etymology of certain words based in, the transliteration, the language that it was written in. We understand the scriptures. The Torah is Hebrew, quote unquote Old Testament. New Testament is Greek, Latin, so on and so forth. So we into the Greek. This is Mark, Strong's G5480. So the G is for the Greek. Strong's G5480, charagma, charagma from the same as G5482, a scratch or etching, i.e. stamp as a badge of servitude, or sculptured figure. They're trying to sculpt this into your skin, etch it into your skin, scratch it, cut. That's what this represents. It represents the RFID chip. That's what it represents. Of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. Right, most of these people have the proverbial badge anyway. Right? Thing carved. Look at the word carved. It means to cut into something. Like you're carving a sculpture or something like that. You're carving a big old fruit. Anything you carve, you cut. So they're trying to carve that into your skin. The mark of the beast, cutting into the flesh. The RFID chip.